Hi guys, hope you're all well. So I'm just doing a short video to talk to you about wrist pain in yoga practice. So often it comes from when we're putting weight through the wrists. So an example of that could be hands and knees, it could be plank, it could be downward dog. And the cause of that pain could be to do with you're quite a healthy person and you've done something out in the garden or lifted something heavy and you've just got a little bit of soft tissue damage that will resolve and heal of its own accord, usually within a few weeks or maybe a little bit longer. Or you might be somebody that's got a long-standing diagnosis of something a little bit more chronic, like arthritis, or you've got carpal tunnel syndrome or bursitis, where you may not have the resolution of the pain eventually going away, and therefore, if you were somebody, if you've got soft tissue injury and you're normally quite active in yoga, you're quite happy doing planks and downward dogs, then it might just be a question of a short modification. You'll take some modifications over a period of time until the wrist pain is resolved and you're more comfortable to come into the posture fully. But if you're somebody with one of the more chronic conditions where the pain or the injury isn't necessarily going to go away through treatment or of its own accord, then some of these options and modifications will become a part of your regular routine yoga practice. But at least it means that you can get something out of yoga as opposed to thinking you can't do it at all. So as I was mentioning, on all fours, plank and downward dog are often the places that we will experience wrist pain because the weight of the body is going down through the wrists. So those positions would be, so we've got all fours, we've got plank, and we've got downward dog. So you can see from those positions that there's going to be weight going down through the hands and through the wrists. So one of the, I was going to say more obvious, but it's not really obvious. Part of the reason why I'm doing this video, but one of the, I guess, go-to modifications for hands and knees and plank is having forearms down. So from this position, from all fours, we'd often do our cat-cow, and we might do our twists from this position, and a variety of others. Sometimes we'll come into extended child's pose. So what we can do, so this was our all four starting position, forearms are down, shoulders are roughly above the elbows, and then from here we can do cat-cow. It will feel a bit odd if you haven't done it before and you're doing it for the first time. You can do your twists, so you can reach up. And then down. And also we can do our extended child's pose. We don't have to have the hands flat. We can, so I'm keeping the forearms down, taking the knees while taking the bum back. Still got the forearms down. And it might be that we're doing this movement forwards and back. And also as well, plank. So we've got forearm plank. And then coming down. So again, having the forearms down, there's no load through the wrists. It should allow for, if you do experience pain in the wrist, those positions won't give you that pain because the weight is going down through the forearm into the elbow area, and we're taking most of the weight across the forearm being down. So it's quite a good firm base, and if you're a regular yogi, you'll be used to doing work on the forearms anyway. So in terms of downward dog, so again, in our downward dog, we've got the weight going into the wrists, so it might be uncomfortable. Puppy pose is a good option. It might not resolve it, you still might notice the feeling of discomfort in the wrist. So puppy pose would be starting from all fours, keeping the hips above the knees, walking the hands away. So if you came into this position and you were noticing pain in the forearms, sorry, not the forearms, the wrists, we can pop the forearms down and work on from there. In some cases, and for a lot of people, downward dog isn't doable at all. So they'll have a modification that they'll do for that. It might just be hands and knees to transition and join in with the sequence. It might be puppy pose, but again, puppy pose isn't necessarily, if you've got long-standing wrist pain, you might still experience it in puppy pose, but do have a go. So a good way of gently transitioning into puppy pose is from all fours, walking the hands away, allowing the chest to move down. And this movement here might well be limited by the shoulders beforehand, before you notice it in the wrists. So it might be that you're coming here because you've got tightness in the shoulders, and that'll be part of what that particular posture is working on. Another thing that I mention in my classes, or drop it in there every now and again, is to help get the hands active during our hands and knees, during our plank, our downward dog, is to gently grip the fingertips into the mat. So my hand is flat and then I'm just gently gripping. So it's only a small movement. So it helps to get the weight of the body across this heel of the hand, getting the fingertips involved to engage and take some of that weight, and then coming into your postures from there. So anytime we're on all fours, if you can remember to do so, we're gently going to grip the fingers into the mat. It just helps to use those muscles in the hand to help support the body as opposed to just having them flat. Another quite common thing with the hands that some people choose to do is create fists. And that might look as though it might hurt the knuckles of the hands, but it's not too bad at all. And it's just a different dynamic. So you've still got the weight coming down through the arms into the wrist, but the wrist is in a different position. So here, the hand is obviously at that right angle shape. But then when we go to the fist, it's going straight down and there's no bend, so there's no kind of weak point there. It might be something that you try, and as I'm in this position, I'm still on hands and knees, and a good way of, if you were coming from this position into a modified plank to full plank position, so you want to gently put a bit of extra challenge through the hands and the wrists, you could walk the hands forwards, bring the shoulders forward. So as we're taking each of these steps, there's a little bit more weight going through the arms down into the wrists, the hands, and also every time we bring the hips further forwards ahead of the knees, we're putting a little bit more work, a demand on the abdominal muscles. So as we do that, so if the hands are flat, we're gently gripping. Maybe we're trying the fists face down, or maybe we've got the forearms down. And there are just a couple of other exercises or movements that we can do just to help increase or maintain and increase the range of movement in the wrists. So if you do notice some wrist pain, we can take the hands together in front of the chest. So we're keeping the hands together and we're just gently bringing the hands down towards the ground. And you're just coming to a point that you start to feel some resistance, or if it starts to feel uncomfortable, maybe you'll ease off. So we're gently pressing the hands down, and then we'll release. Backs of the hands together, and we gently draw the elbows down. And again, you're coming to that point of resistance, or maybe you're releasing, drawing the elbows down. So you might do that a couple of times. And then from here, after you've done that, and another quite common thing that we often do naturally is just shake the hands and the wrists out. So as with all of these modifications, do use them. Don't feel like you have to do the posture like everybody else. Work to what your body's comfortable with, because it's a lot nicer to be involved in doing something as opposed to trying to do something you're not comfortable with and either causing further injury or just you'll demoralise yourself and you can't do it. So try not to set yourself up for something that isn't achievable, at least maybe in the short term, or if you're somebody that has more of a chronic challenge with the wrists from an underlying diagnosis. process, then you'll know that some of these modifications should be your go-to for those different types of postures. So thank you for watching.